Hey there, this is Max, and this is the Slide Rule Challenge Coach's Guide. Normally, it's pretty easy for these challenges to be graded. Most of the time, it's some sort of string, you enter in the scoreboard, not a big deal. But because this is a physical challenge and it has to be manually graded by the coaches, it becomes a little bit more complicated. And the other complication here is I don't want students just memorizing the solutions to stuff and coming up to you and going on the slide rule. I want them to actually understand it. So there's a little bit more of a protocol and how this should go about. So for every challenge that we have, and there's three of them that need to be graded by you guys, there are there are three need to be graded by you guys, and one that can just be done by the people separately. So there's multiplication, wraparound multiplication, and division. As a coach, it is your responsibility to give the student numbers that fall into the proper range. And once they've done that, or you've given it to them and they've solved it, there may be more than one challenge. So for multiplication, there's simple multiplication, and then there's decimal multiplication. On wraparound multiplication, it's just the one. And then on division, there is simple division, and then there's underflowing division. So it is the coach's responsibility to understand the criteria of these numbers in order to administer these challenges correctly. So what does this actually look like? Let's take multiplication. A student comes up to me, goes, "Hey, I want to try the multiplication challenge." Cool. So you go over here, you have to come up with numbers that fit the criteria. With basic multiplication, you can't overflow. So it requires you to use smaller numbers. So you'd say, "Hey, I want you to do 2 times 4. Student goes, "Great, I know how to do that." He moves the 1 on the C scale to the D scale is 2. He then moves the cursor's hairline to here. And he goes, "I did it. Look, 2 times 2 is 4. Perfect." So I say, "Great job. I like that. You did it once correctly." If you have worries that they got lucky or they cheated, feel free to ask another one, but I'm happy with just one, like to prove they know what they're doing, especially on this one, because you need to solve 2 things that are kind of similar. For the second one, we want decimal multiplication. Again, it cannot overflow though. So we want to do 2.2 times 3.3 is what you would tell the student. Student goes, "Great. This is going to be 2.2. We can see the ticks there. And then we want to move all the way to 3.3. This looks like the halfway point between 3 and 4. So that's probably 3.4. So this is 3.3. So the answer is 7 point something. What is that something? And this is the point of this one. I want students to actually understand how to deal with decimal points and stuff. So, okay, this is 7.5. That's 7. This is a halfway point. I would say 7.2 or 7.25 or something like that. If they're close enough, I'm pretty happy with that. But the point isn't solving these. The point is coming up with the numbers and how to administrate this correctly. And I think the key thing is student comes up to you. You say, "Hey, here are some numbers. Do the math that you've for this challenge." They do it correctly. And then if they do it correctly, you give them a flag. You let them take a picture of that particular part. And you're good. So for for this third challenge, it's wraparound multiplication. You only need to do one correctly. And the key criteria on this one is an overflow. So because it's overflowing, the slide rule usage is a little bit different. So 5 times 8, 6 times 7, all those are good numbers to try. For division, there are 2 different things they need to do. They need to do simple division, which is going to be something like 8 divided by 2, and then they need to do harder division, which is going to be something like 16 divided by 8. Anytime that the number underflows, you start to run into weird issues with it. You have to use a slightly different strategy for division. So Just keep those in mind when you're administrating these. You're probably thinking, Max, I can't remember all that. You're right. And I'll have a little guide that's specific for the for you coaches that are doing the slide rule challenges. And so say, hey, here's multiplication. Here's how you administrate it. Here's some suggested challenges, but you can come up with your own. And just make sure that the students are doing it correctly. Cool. So that's about it. I encourage you to have a good time. Feel free to correct the student once they've done something wrong. But of course, if they've done something wrong, they don't get the flag. So it should be fun. Thanks for helping out.